In our everyday lives, we use batteries for our electronics. There are many types of batteries. For example, there are alkaline batteries, lithium batteries, aluminum batteries, and so on. However, what discovery allowed mankind to pave its way to such an amazing invention? In 1780, Luigi Galvani discovered that when two different metals, copper and zinc for example, were connected together and then both touched different parts of a nerve of a frog leg at the same time, they made the leg contract. This led to the creation of the galvanic cell, as shown here, which utilizes the redox reactions to produce electric current. The galvanic cell produces a direct current, or a galvanic current, which means the electric current flows in a single direction. Shown here is a steady direct current. Another direct current is a varying direct current. And lastly, the smooth direct current. The galvanic cell consists of two electrodes, one made of zinc, the anode, and the other, copper, the cathode. The electrolyte or salt bridge is composed of an aqueous solution of a salt. In this video, it is composed of Na plus ions and SO4 2 minus ions. The electrolyte thus exists in the form of Na plus and SO4 2 minus solutions. The zinc, which has a higher activity than both copper and sodium in the electrochemical series, reacts with the negatively charged sulfate. Then the positively charged Na plus ions would capture electrons from the copper, forming sodium. This means that sodium is reduced and solid sodium is produced. This makes the zinc rod the negative electrode and the copper rod the positive electrode. Once we have the two terminals or electrodes connected, then the current will flow through the circuit. So in our lab, we decided to investigate the relationship between the concentration of the two solutions and the voltage of the electrical current produced by the cell. Our control variables was the volume of the electrolytes, weight of the anode and cathode, size of the beaker, the capacity of the salt bridge, and so on. We believe that if we increase the concentration of the two solutions, the voltage that is produced will also increase. So in this lab, we used 1 mole of copper sulfate solutions, 1 mole of zinc sulfate solutions, potassium nitrate, zinc metal strips, copper metal strips, voltmeters, alligator clips, and porous tubes, 250 ml volumetric flasks, 200 ml beakers, and distilled water. So firstly, we had to make the solutions. Here is the 0.2 molarity zinc sulfate solution. Here is the 0.4 molarity zinc sulfate solution. And here's the 0.5 molarity zinc sulfate solution. This is the 0.2 molarity copper sulfate solution. This is the 0.4 molarity copper sulfate solution. And this is the 0.5 molarity copper sulfate solution. Next, we had to make the potassium nitrate solution for the salt bridge, as seen here. Next, we poured potassium nitrate solution into the porous tubes and tied both ends up as the salt bridge. Next, we set up the lab according to this diagram, linking the alligator clips to the copper strip and the zinc strip, then linking the other end of the alligator clips to the voltmeter. Then we poured 140 ml of each solution into 2 beakers, as shown. Here's the first trial of the galvanic cell that used 0.2 molarity of copper sulfate and 0.2 molarity of zinc sulfate. This is the first trial of the galvanic cell that used 0.4 molarity of copper sulfate solution and 0.4 molarity of zinc sulfate solution. Here is the first trial of the galvanic cell that used 0.5 molarity of copper sulfate solution and 0.5 molarity of zinc sulfate solution. Here is the data that we collected through our lab. Here's our data plotted on a scatter plot graph. We have found that the relationship between concentration and voltage is logarithmic, and here is a graph that shows the relationship. In conclusion, the concentration of electrolytes does increase the voltage in a logarithmic way, which means that a battery could contain a large voltage in a smaller capsule but with a specific capacity, as too concentrated electrolyte might make a charge too unstable for the cell to operate smoothly.